How did you get into med school at 17? Is medicine hard? Well, hey guys, my name is Amanya and welcome to my YouTube channel. So I've actually been contemplating making this video for a while now because I get a lot of questions from students who are in school wanting to get into medical college, or medical students asking me how to get a job in Australia. So I thought I'll just compile a couple of these questions and make a video answering as much as I can. So recently I actually put out a sticker on my Instagram story. It's one of those not gonna lie, if that's what it's called, one of those question sticker links, that kind of thing. And I told you guys to ask me questions that you want and I'll be able to answer them through a video. So that is what we're doing now. So I've actually got a bunch of questions here. I'm not going to be able to answer all of them, but I've selected a couple of common ones I always get. And yeah, so let's get on to the video. So yeah, the first question I've got is interns getting paid in Australia? So first of all, internship here as a medical student who just graduated, it basically means you're a doctor. So once I finished medical school, which I did in December last year, I had already gotten a job by then because we applied for jobs in the middle of the year, and I started working this year in January. So your internship year is your first year as a doctor. So you're a junior doctor, you are getting paid, you're doing work that a doctor does. So it's not an unpaid thing that you need to complete or anything like that. It's a paid job and you're paid overtime. If you do overtime, you're assigned to night shifts, you're assigned to evening shifts. So yeah, it's basically like a regular doctor job. So you are getting paid. Next question I have is, what can you say about the experience you get working as a medical intern? So I'm currently almost 3/4 way through my internship year. So I'm done with 3 terms. I'm halfway through my 4th term and we have 5 terms in total. So that was quite a big leap from being a medical student to being an intern, because you're suddenly responsible and you need to come in every day. You need to work from 8 to 4:30 usually. You do overtime and you do evenings and you do weekends. So that was a big jump, but so far the experience has been great and every day I'm learning new things. At the beginning it was a bit scary. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know a lot of things, and now I'm a bit more confident in what I'm doing and I know when to escalate things. So yeah, you do get used to it, and I think I've gotten a bit better than I was at the beginning of the year. Okay, so this is a question I get asked a lot, and it's on my TikTok and on my Instagram messages. A lot of people ask me this: how did you get into med school at 17? So I'm finally gonna answer that properly. I think I've answered it a couple of times earlier, but I'm just gonna give you a brief summary about it as well. So I went to an international school in Sri Lanka, and we finished doing our A-levels at the age of 16. So I finished in 2015. So 2015 June, I was done with my A-levels, and I had already decided that I'll probably go do medicine because I did biology, chemistry, physics, and medicine seemed like the way to go from there. So I applied to medical schools as soon as I got my A-level results. So that was in August 2015, sorry, I almost said 16, but it was August 2015, and I got into uni and I started uni in 2016 and I was only 17. So that is actually how I got into medical school at 17. I didn't skip any grades or anything like that. I'm not super smart or anything. It was one, I made the decision quite quickly, and also my school, because I finished A-levels at a young age, so that did help me as well. So I'm not a super genius or anything. It was good decision making, and yeah, and the whole degree was almost 6 years, so I finished at 23. And I'll get to explaining the whole process in a bit. I think I have another question about that. Okay, so the next question is, when you are applying for uni, do they ask about other qualifications, extracurricular activities, etc.? If so, what are those? Yes, they do. I guess it also depends on your university. Most of the time we do need to give like a list of things we've done. There's a whole I went through an agent called Educate, so there's a whole process to like applying. So I've given my A-level results, my O-level results, my IELTS, everything, all of that stuff. And it's always good to have extracurricular activities, because it always makes you look like you stand out, and it makes you look like you do have a life outside of studying. So even if your grades are like all A stars, all A's, if you have some extracurricular activities that you've done and you've done well in them, that makes you better than if you just have only studies to show. So yes, it is good and it's important to do extracurriculars to have a balance as well in your school career. So the next one is the medical field toxic? Like, are doctors rude to the interns and the medical students? So here actually it's been quite good. Most of them are very supportive, very kind. There are a couple, anywhere you go to work or study, there's always going to be a few grumpy people who are like, who you can't help that. You're always going to come across people who are rude, but most of the people I've met here have been really nice, really supportive. They will tell you if you made a mistake, and they won't look at you like, oh my god, you're not suitable for this, or nothing like that. They're very helpful, very supportive. So yeah, my experience here has been good. In Malaysia, there's a bit of they're not as friendly as here, I would say, because I did my first 2 years of medicine in Malaysia, so they're not as friendly here as, you know, as I would say. But anyways, that's different. That can also be some personal experiences. So it's I'm not saying that everyone there was bad or anything, but personally here the working environment is more friendly and I really enjoyed here. So the next question is, hi Amanyajagodaarachchi, how did you join to the IMU Malaysia University? So this is what happened basically when I was done with my A-levels. So while I was waiting around for results, my parents asked me what I wanted to do, and I thought, yeah, medicine sounds like a good option for me. And we didn't really know anyone who had studied medicine, like anyone close to me or close to my parents who studied medicine overseas. Initially they wanted me to study in Sri Lanka. They were thinking SITEM or KDU or something, but they wanted me to get some experience overseas as well, because it's always good to experience living alone, have like cultural experiences as well. So we found out through Educate that there is a program where you can study 2.5 years in Malaysia, then transfer to UK or Australia or Canada at the time to finish the rest of the degree. So initially I was thinking of going to Australia directly, but there was a small issue because I was, like I said, 17 at the time, and you need to be over 18 if you want to go there and live alone. And when I was gonna go there, I was gonna be 17, so I needed a guardian, and I didn't have a guardian at the time, so I would have to stay at a homestay, which is like you live with a family you're supposed to live with a family, and you live with them until you turn 18. And it's a bit of a, like, my parents were not too fond of the idea, and neither was I. So we found this whole IMU thing, which is where you do the first part of your degree at IMU, then you transfer. And they thought it was a really good idea because, one, IMU is in Malaysia, which is close to home. I could travel back and forth, they could come and see me, and the cost was also less, like a bit less compared to doing the whole 5 years in Australia, because as you guys know, medicine is quite expensive. And I didn't have to live in a homestay. So all of those worked out really well. So I applied through Educate. I just had to have the results they needed. I needed to do IELTS. I needed to do an interview, and all that worked out fine. And I got into IMU. So yeah. The next question is, what specialty are you planning to do? This is a question people ask on a regular basis. And honestly, I do have something in mind. I'm not 100% set on if I want to do something else additionally, but I do have in mind what I'm gonna do, but I'm not 100% sure if that's the only thing I'm gonna do. So I'm just not gonna mention it for now until I'm 100% certain. So once I am 100% certain, I will let you all know. Next question is, Akhi, is the transfer program in IMU accepted by the SLMC? Yes, it is. So I had to like register with the SLMC, if that's what it was. I can't really remember. This is a while back, but I did have to register with them, and when I did, they did tell me the transfer program is accepted because the university I did go to in Australia, which is Western Sydney, is also accepted by SLMC. So yeah, so both IMU and Western Sydney are accepted. So I got my final degree, my final qualification from Western Sydney. So because of that, it's fine from what I remember. The next question is, hello Akhi, didn't you get any issues when applying for internship? No, I didn't have any issues. So how getting a job here, which is getting a job for an internship, works is, it depends from state to state. So I'm in New South Wales because I'm working in a hospital in Sydney. So I studied in Sydney, so I started working here. So it's not that complicated. It's a very simple process. You just need to apply in the middle of your 5th year, which is your final year of university. You just need to make sure you pass all your exams and you basically get a job. As long as you fulfill all the qualifications and the criteria you need to graduate medical school. But there are categories as to how they give you a job. So the first category is, of course, local students. That means Australian students who studied in an Australian university and are applying for the job. So they get the first jobs, like they get offers immediately because they always prioritize their local students. And then followed by that would be like students who are local to New South Wales but studied interstate, you know, something like that. And we fall down in the 4th category, if I'm not mistaken. So we come under international students who studied in an Australian university. So we do have a bit of competition, but from what I know, almost everyone gets a job because there's always job opportunities available. So almost everyone gets a job. It's just you might get a job later on in the year. And below us would be international medical graduates, or IMG. So they get the leftover jobs basically, even though that sounds bad, but it's not actually that bad because you do get a decent job and you get a job at the end of the day. The next question is medicine hard? Well, yeah, it is hard. There is a lot of work, there is a lot of studying to do, there's a lot of clinical things to do. It takes up a lot of time and you do feel like overwhelmed a lot. But also it depends on how you are as a person. So some people might not find it as hard as others, or some people might be able to cope with it better. But every degree is hard. I don't think there's anything as an easy degree, but it's just about making sure that you know how to manage your time, that you know how to make sure that you plan your schedules and how you basically, yeah, it's basically a matter of balancing things and making sure you're on track with your studies, making sure you don't miss out on anything. So once you get the hang of it, I think you will find it much easier. Because I remember in my first year, I found it, I was like, oh, what is this? This is so different to school. And I didn't take it too seriously. But then I came to my final exams and I was like, oh my God, I really don't know anything. But I did get the hang of it eventually, and I realized, okay, it's just me alone. There's no tuition teachers that you go for, like extra classes that you do like you do in school. You just have to do things on your own, and if you have questions, you ask your lecturers, which is what I used to do. But you do get the hang of it. It is hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm not saying it's not possible, because if I can do it, you can do it. So yeah. Next question is, hey, can you understand Sinhala and can you speak Sinhala? Oh, මට සිංහල හොඳට කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්. මම අවුරුදු 16ක් වෙනකන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ හිටියේ. ඉතින් මට සිංහල කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්. So I don't know why people assume that I can't, because I can. And I still speak in Sinhala. Like, especially here, if I want to say something that I don't want other people to understand, I'll be like, meh, meh, in Sinhala. So yeah. The next question is, did you have a hectic schedule during med school compared with like other friends who pursued other degrees? I would say yes. I don't know about, because I didn't have friends from a lot of other degrees, but comparatively, yeah, we would have less free time because we would be studying a lot, because we had exams in IMU every 5 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, and we had to study for that because a percentage of that would count towards our final grade. So you can't really not study for them, and you need to like keep track of what you're doing, because if you just leave everything towards the end, you're just gonna fall behind because there's a lot of content. So yeah, I did feel like, okay, all my friends are going out, now I had to stay home and study. I did have moments like that, but I mean, you can't really help it. I chose this degree. There are people, I'm sure, who can go out that night and still come back and study, but me towards exams, I can't do that. I need to like properly focus and study. So I would cut down on going out during like nearing exams. So this is a question, I actually get a lot of common questions like this about students going to other countries but wanting to get a job in Australia like later on. So this question is, Aki, I'm interested in working in Australia as a doctor, so what would you recommend me, either transferring Aussie via IMU or completing medicine in another country like Belarus and doing ANC and coming to Aussie? What would be the best way? So personally, if you're getting a job if you're 100% keen on getting a job in Australia, it would be best to come to Australia, because when, like I said, you still fall in the 4th category, but you are still more likely to get a job than an international medical graduate. And the other thing is that the international medical graduates have to do the AMC exams, which is a 2-part exam if I'm not mistaken, and I've heard it's quite hard. So especially if you studied in another country and the system is quite different to how it is in Australia, it is recommended that you do come to Australia if you really want a job in Australia. But then again, it's not always certain that you get or don't get a job in Australia if you don't study in a university here. There's always a way to get a job here if you want to. There's so many people who studied overseas. So don't be disheartened if you can't come here directly for university. Lots of people still manage to come and work here as IMGs. So don't stress about it. Just decide what's most appropriate for you. Next question is, what is OSCE exam? Should students who study med in China do it if they prefer to work in Australia after doing AMC? So OSCEs are very it's a compulsory exam here. It's done here, it's done in UK, it's done in Malaysia, in US. I don't know if it's done in like China or not, but it is a compulsory exam that you need to sit, you need to pass it. It's an exam I actually preferred more than theory because it's a clinical exam. So what happens is, you go into a room, you're given a scenario, you have like a few seconds or a minute to prepare, and you go do what you're supposed to do, like take a history, do a clinical exam. It's a very clinical based thing. So it is a very stressful exam because you are in person and there's an examiner literally like judging you, unlike sitting down and writing a theory paper where no one's really staring at you, judging every move you make. So it is a stressful exam, and it is included in the AMC exams if I'm not mistaken. So if you do want to do the AMC exams, I'm pretty sure you need to practice OSCEs, and the best way to practice OSCEs, actually one of the only ways to practice OSCEs is with a bunch of people, because you can't really do it on your own, because someone needs to watch you do it and tell you, okay, this is wrong, this is right, or you did this wrong, you did this right, because it's literally an exam where someone's watching you. So you need a group of friends who'll be like, okay, you did this wrong, do it like this, or something like that. So yeah. Next one is, how did you manage social media and a relationship while being in med school and with all exams? So I think, like I said before, it's all about a balance. You need to be able to balance your personal life versus your medical school life, and if you don't have a balance in that, then it's going to be difficult for you anyways, because you won't have a life outside of medicine. So know what helps you and know what helps you pass your exam. So if you're a person who studies on a daily basis, you can definitely have a relationship and be on social media additionally, because there's 24 hours in a day. So you can like split your time and manage your time as you would like, and be able to handle all those things. That's what I used to do. I stopped going out, like I said, nearing exams. I don't do a lot of social things, but I did learn how to manage my time, and it's all like it comes with practice, I guess. But yeah, you'll get used to it and you'll be fine. Okay, the next one is, hi, how much do you earn in Australia as being a doctor, and what work do you like the most being a doctor? So earning, I think the minimum here for a year as a JMO, which is a junior medical officer, is about 70k a year. That's before tax. And what I like most, I like being able to actually practice medicine. We do a lot of admin work. Okay, so my video stopped halfway through, so I had to restart it. Well, what I was saying was, in your first year as a junior medical officer and your second year as a resident medical officer, you do a lot of admin jobs, which is basically like consultations, documentation, discharge summaries, scripts, and things like that. But you get to do more doctor-like work when you're working in the ED, when you're working in like ICU, that kind of thing. So you get to actually properly see patients, do stuff. So there's always that. It's still interesting. I like learning more new things every single day, and I like seeing patients who have interesting cases, who have these like complex diseases or complex conditions, and it's always very interesting. But yeah, there's nothing in particular that I would say, oh my god, this is what I love doing, but overall it's good and I enjoy it. So yeah. The next question is, can you have tattoos and still be a medical professional? I've heard they don't allow tattoos, and some even say no piercings, only one on the ear. Not really here. They don't really care too much about that. My tattoos can't be seen, but I have friends who have tattoos, who have piercings, who have like man buns, and no one really cares. So it depends on the country as well. It's a cultural thing as well, I assume. So yeah, it depends on where you're studying and where you're practicing. Is there a dream country you'd want to practice medicine in, or is that Australia? So like I said, I had the choice when I went to International Medical University in Malaysia. I had the choice of choosing between Australia, UK, Canada. Canada was like too far, too cold. I didn't want that. It was between UK and Australia, and personally I thought Australia was a better choice. Overall, I've heard that the healthcare system here is better, and it seems to me like a more livable country, if livable is a word. But that was my personal choice, and my parents were like, you know what, you go for it. If you like it, you do that. So yeah, if I'm working here, like I would only want to work here and in Sri Lanka. I wouldn't go anywhere else. I think this is a good country to work in and practice medicine in. The next question is, do you have exams after becoming a doctor? Yes, you do, because you have to do a specialty. Like you need to get into a program. So once you become a doctor, as a junior medical officer, you decide what you want to specialize in. So you have so many different specialties to choose from. There's surgery, there's medicine, then so medicine would be like physician, and then there's general practice, and then there's also anesthetics, there's psychiatry, there's a lot of stuff. So you have to sit exams for everything. You have to sit for interviews. So like I said, the exams don't stop. My video keeps getting cut off and it's a bit annoying now, but yeah. Okay, so my video stopped halfway through, and I don't know if I adjusted the camera to be in the same position, but it's okay. So the final question that I'm coming 2 is this. What advice would you give someone who wants to do medicine but is also kind of unsure? So what I'm here to tell you is from my point of, like, my personal opinion. At the end of the day, it's not the end of the world if you don't want to study medicine, or if you decide like halfway through that medicine is not for you. I've had friends who stopped studying, who like stopped medical school halfway through, and they're doing better things. Like, they're doing things that makes them happier now than med school did. So yeah, it's not the end of the world. You might want to think a bit more before you get into medical school, if you have these doubts in your mind, because like I said, medical school is expensive and it does take up a lot of your time. So if you are quite unsure, maybe talk to some other people, talk to people who are going to the university that you're planning on going to, talk to people who have graduated medical school and who are working, ask them about their experiences, ask them how working is like, and maybe you can get an idea about if this is the right pathway for you or not. So I hope that helps you. So that is it for the video, you guys. I have more questions that I couldn't answer. Maybe I'll do another part, and maybe I'll do a couple day in my life stuff, because I want, like, people have messaged me about that as well, and I actually do want to. It's just it's a bit hard to like video myself. I'm not used to this, so I think I need to start getting used to it, and I'll maybe do a couple of days in my life so you guys can see how it's like to be a doctor here in Sydney. And if you guys do have any more questions, you can always DM me. I always try my best to answer them to my, like, whatever possibility I can. So yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I would really like if you could subscribe to my channel and give my video a thumbs up. And yeah, I'll come back to you guys with another video hopefully soon. All right, bye.